Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Sloth Patrol by Traxmaster Software. This is the world's premier 100% completely accurate sloth simulator, although that is actually 100% not the case. What I believe this game is, and I haven't actually tried it yet, this is going to be totally blind first impressions. I'm told it is something like a Geometry Wars style game, a twin-stick shooter with a sloth plotline. I'm not sure quite how that formulates or how that comes out, but I'm very curious to know. So, without further ado, why don't we open up the settings here and take a quick look. Pretty standard stuff. We've got some volume sliders, we've got resolution, full screen option on or off, image quality and glow level, and of course share scores. We like to be included on the leaderboards, I suppose. I am using a 360 controller. I'm told that's the best way to play, and I kind of generally agree when it comes to Geometry Wars style twin stick shooters. That is probably the best way to play indeed. Sloth Patrol is a twin stick. Oh, see, it says it too. The goal of the game is to avoid enemy ships and projectiles. Use fire controls to attack these ships. I think I got this pretty much down already. That was a nice, easy help menu. Alright, let's start it out. So, I think I'd rather do survival for now so we can get a quick look at what this, the basic gameplay elements might be like. So we're going to be a little blue ship, apparently, and we're going to shoot a very slow-moving yellow projectile at a series of incoming Space Invader-style, I don't know what those are, spinning rings, I guess. And we're going to get a weapon upgrade, as well as faster waves that increase little by little. So far, I'm enjoying. The controls feel pretty much right where they need to be. As soon as our weapon starts to get a little bit formidable, then I might actually be in a place where I could have a lot of fun with this. One thing I'm noticing so far, and this might just be a personal quirk of mine, but I find that the background might not have a particularly large amount of contrast, although I believe being that there are a series of different levels. Oh, freeze, that's a pretty sweet power-up to find. I think this background might just be one of many, so I probably shouldn't be too harsh about it, but it seems like the type of thing that I would find very distracting if there gets to be a lot of stuff going on screen, which I'm pretty sure that is kind of the focus and the point of things. Oh god, what was that? I didn't even see what just happened there. Well, that's tempting to make my initials be that, but I'm going to put in Mar, because Mar should get more credit. So I destroyed 183 ships, 1 at close range, 302 shots fired. That's a lot of shots to fire. I can't even fire that many on Twitter. 66% hit percentage. Alright, let's try this again. I like the feel of it. I want to see what this is going to be like, though, when we start getting things really moving. I'm actually kind of surprised that there's this much detail in the enemy variety in the general models. Oh, rapid fire. This is what I want it to feel like all the time. Yeah, I like this. This is right up my wheelhouse. All right. What was I saying? Anyway, I was surprised that the enemies are quite this detailed, considering I imagine there's probably going to be hundreds of them on screen at some point. So, you know, having this much going on means, well, we might have to get into the unfortunate position where maybe the frame rate starts to drop a little bit if things get too hectic. Because one of the things that I think Geometry Wars did to an incredible degree was seem to have an unstoppably solid frame rate, at least the 360 version. I think the PC version actually was a little bit less optimized, if that makes sense. I'm not 100% sure if that's all correct, but I feel like I've never seen the 360 version drop. And I've been up in the 3+ million score range, and I don't even know what I was supposed to do there. Stop setting my initials to USA, please. Yeah, we're going to do one more, then we'll go over to score mode, or story mode, rather. But yeah, I've been way up in the score range, the higher scores, and I have not noticed any droppage. But then on the PC version, I thought I had actually experienced, like, a little bit. But it wasn't so bad that it, like, broke the gameplay or anything. I should not be, tuning down this game or reprimanding it for a thing that hasn't even happened yet, though, so let's be fair here. So far, it has been rock solid. A little surprising that you only get 1 life in this case. One of the main features of the way that Geometry Wars worked, and I'm sorry to make such blatant comparisons here, but one of the main things was the way that the scaling and progression went in terms of difficulty. Was it involved constantly trying to get more bombs and more lives to try and outlast and outpace the amount of crazy swarms of enemies that would land on your screen. This isn't looking good all of a sudden. This is perhaps tailored to be a much shorter experience when you're trying to play survival mode, unless I'm also doing kind of poorly, which is kind of the case, I think. Oh, this is crazy. This is already very hectic. And one of the other complaints I actually had about Geometry Wars was the beginning startup times were crazy long. If you're actually fairly good at the game, you would spend a ton of time just trying to get back to the very beginning of the way the waves would go, and the first 2 to 5 minutes or so of the game would be basically trivial, and would set the pace for your run. And if you died early on those parts of the run, it would just lead to you basically just wasting your time. So in a way, this could actually be a market improvement over something like that. I have beaten my top score already, although I can't say that it was particularly high just yet. And now I'm starting to get into having a reasonable weapon. I think this is actually something I could do some good work with. The enemies do seem to spawn in rather unconventional methods, although they have solved one of the other major problems of Geometry Wars, which is that the enemies would often spawn directly on top of you. And in this case, you can actually see them coming in from outside of the level, so you won't hopefully have that issue as much. But it also does mean that you can end up getting swarmed in ways that you might not have expected, seeing as you can't really see the whole level or even like a quarter of the level all at the same time. We've gotten quad fire, which seems like a kind of a nice thing to have. I'm not noticing any kind of bombs, though. I mean, I guess those bombs do show up just on the screen in general. Oh my goodness, this thing is reflecting my fire like the magnets. But I do need to be aware that I'm not going to have anything to bail me out if I find myself screwed in like in a corner where I can't really help myself. I'm just going to have to dig my way out of that position if that's a thing that happens. I'm not going to have something to fall back on. But now that my weapon's firing this quickly and quite this effectively, I think this actually may do just fine. This is actually really fun. I'm actually having a great time with this. So far, so good. I can see myself totally playing this over and over and over again to try and best my last score. It seems like the balance seems reasonably fair. The amount of enemies on screen hasn't become quite overwhelming just yet, and the projectiles don't seem particularly cheesy or too impossible to avoid. In this case, the enemies themselves. I kind of wish there were a little bit faster weapon upgrades too, but you know, you can't have everything. You kind of got to work for it sometimes. So I really can't complain. And you know, there's a good variety of enemies too, like I was saying earlier. Keeps things from getting a little too stagnant or stale. Although there was always something satisfying about having like 100, you know, blue boxes or something come onto the screen, or blue diamonds rather, and have them just slowly moving towards you where it's a very predictable fashion. You can just kind of work your way through them all. Uniformity is not happening here, but it's not necessarily a thing that has to happen. You know, make it your own, I say, and in this case, I think quite a successful idea, just generally the way that things are being tuned. Very curious to know how a story mode is going to fit into this formula. Oh goodness gracious, I've gotten a little bit out of my league. Okay, there we go, rapid fire. It looks like that actually seeked in on me a little bit, which is awesome, because I was not able to get to it, and it actually followed me out of a tricky situation. I can look to see when I have a long-range shot, too, when my shots start reflecting. I gotta see these ring-type characters are gonna be showing up, and I've gotta make sure I strafe around those in a circle, otherwise we're gonna have some problems. One thing that really tends to push one of these types of games over the top with me is when there's some sort of a customization or like a long-term unlock prospect. Something like, what is it, Great Big Sky or Big Giants? I can't remember the title off the top of my head now, but it basically had a sort of Rogue Legacy style thing going where between levels, Really Big Sky is the title. Between levels, you would basically be able to upgrade your ship in a minor way, and I understand that that's probably not the most applicable thing when we're looking at like a gauntlet mode where we want to just survive for as long as possible and get the best score we can. And maybe they even applied this to the actual story mode of this, but it's always really satisfying when you can make some kind of an incremental bit of progress that will allow you to make it further on your next run. That way you're sort of padding your chances to make sure things stay in a sort of a forward linear progression. This is getting a little overwhelming now, and I'm kind of starting to wish I had a smart bomb. I don't, though, so I really got to keep that in mind. It doesn't matter that this guy seems to have a laser-guided missile thing going on me. That doesn't seem to be able to hit me very well. So I'm just going to try and avoid staying too close to that one. And keep going for weapon upgrades. I think I'm almost to another one here. I can't even look down at the bottom of my screen for very long, and I want to get over to wherever that last yellow upgrade power-up type thing was. There we go, slow down. Thank you, that's what I need. We need to slow things down for just a moment here. This is turning out to be a fairly successful run, and this is, what is this, my third, fourth run, something like that? early on in the game, but at the same time, I'm very experienced in this style of game, and I think, if anything, this is probably like one of my top 2 or 3 genres that I'm actually fairly good at once I've had some practice at them, so I would hope that, if anything, I should be okay at this one at least. But this is going to be very fun to be competitive with, and I'm very excited to see what you guys are going to be able to score on the general leaderboards here. And it's also interesting, too, that we've had basically nothing to do with sloths so far, which may be dismaying for some of you and maybe encouraging for others. You know, I've had a love-hate relationship with sloths. I never really thought much of them until I learned how much Ryan and Kate love them, and now it's sort of like, it's become a thing that I guess I kind of find them endearing as well. There's also that video of that dude just, like, randomly picking one up off the road, and how it, like, doesn't move at all when he picks it up, and it just, like, waits for him to put it down on the other side. This sloth really does not care very much. He's just, he's in it to win it. He's in for the long haul. Something bad happens, well, he's in it for that as well. He really doesn't care. So I guess that's sort of the attitude that I'm taking with this particular run. You know, bad things happen, and just sort of plow right through them and keep on going. I think I'm about to get another weapon upgrade, and we're just about to hit 500,000, which is pretty exciting. Ooh, did I not get the upgrade? Oh, I did, actually, and now it seems... Oh, God, things are getting out of hand. I did not expect for there to be a deluge of enemies coming from that direction. Another thing that I'm noticing, too, the sound effects, not quite as engaging, perhaps, as Geometry Wars. Like, the general shooting of your gun is not nearly as distracting or annoying as, like, the vast majority of games that I've played in this genre, so that's a big positive. But at the same time, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of musical background really going. It's just a little bit there. And now that it's over, actually, it seems to have kicked up quite a bit more. It's unfortunate. My run seems to have come to an end on that one. Let's just play the very beginning of the story mode, because that actually took a bit longer than I expected, but I had a really fun time. We killed 1,800 ships and fired over 10,000 shots with a 31% hit percentage, which isn't that great, and a 35% at 35 at close range, which is not that good either, but, you know, you kind of want to avoid being at close range to your enemies, wouldn't you say? Alright, so let's go to story. Let's see a little bit of the Slothy story here. Sloth Patrol with the IBM typography. Very exciting sort of 1980s style background music. Okay, we're going for the whole Star Wars theme, aren't we? I was thinking that's where we were going, but I wasn't 100% sure until I saw it. Alright, so Episode 4, A Gift of Death. It is a time of war. Sloth rebels striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Possum Empire. This seems like something that Alpaca Patrol would enjoy if it was like alpacas versus llamas. He really hates llamas. They loiter a lot. During the battle, Sloth spies stole secret plans for the Possum Empire's ultimate weapon, the Anti-Sloth Death Sphere, a space station with enough power to destroy the Sloth homeworld of Slothonia. The Possum Empire's agents conduct raids against Sloth outposts across the galaxy. Unbeknownst to the Sloth rebels, the fate of their alliance rests on the shoulders of a lone fighter pilot whose name I did not quite catch before it disappeared into the ether. So we're going with cutout pictures with Photoshop filters, I suppose. You know, that's all good. It can definitely lend a sense of wackiness to this whole thing. I'm not so in it to hear the actual dialogue, but I was kind of curious to know what was going to happen to the actual gameplay conventions. My face is jacked up because that's jerk sloth. Wow, that is not nearly enough time to read this text in general, I would think. Although I did not catch the very beginning of it. This is at least the 5th time today we've heard you say that we get it. Oh, well, I hit A to skip one dialogue box. I guess we're going on to the first round. Oh, okay, now we've got some music going. Maybe I just took too long on the other round. Well, I'm enjoying this background quite a bit more. It's a little bit better for contrast. It's sort of letting me see what's going on a little bit more in the foreground, and also it's just kind of cool to look at. Reminding me a little bit of, like, Rogue Squadron, where they had all those sort of generic buildings that you could see off into the distance, and were, like, really sort of proving the capabilities of the GameCube's hardware technical specs. There's a power-up I'd really like to grab, but it's, like, way away from me. And there's a lot of these little ringlets. I guess these are our blue triangle or diamonds. I always felt like somebody should make like a Lucky Charms mod for Geometry Wars, where they take all the marshmallows from Lucky Charms and make them into the enemy combatants. Alright, so we've got some missiles, some larger spinning spheres, and then tons more of the little guys. What do the blue ones take? Like 6, 7 shots? Alright, I guess that's worth noting, especially when my weapon is particularly weak. I don't really have a lot of firepower, so I've got to sort of apply it to the places that are needed most. And usually I think that's going to be the missiles, because they're the most, wily and the most agile to get around me a few times. You know, I have to say, I was a little hesitant at first. Naming your game something like Sloth Patrol, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I guess I have a little bit of an inherent bias when it comes to things like that. But when I saw a screenshot or two, I was like, this looks like it could be pretty good. You know, I'm actually really pleasantly surprised. This is really good. Like, I'm really enjoying the gameplay of this. This feels great. And as far as twin-stick games go, this is certainly a thing I would pay money for, but it is completely free. So in case you were wondering, you know, all of this production value to the actual game seems pretty top-notch. You know, there's a ton of particle effects. The game controls very smooth. There's a nice balanced sense to the progression mechanic. You know, it feels like it's got a good challenge to it. It doesn't feel unfair. It feels like you can get your way around through things. You feel agile enough that you can make some good dodges on occasion. There's a few things to keep things moving. You know, you got these power-ups occasionally. You've got bombs that go off occasionally. All of this stuff adds up to be a pretty positive experience to me. I almost don't even know if the story was that necessary, but I suppose it gives it a bit of quirky character that you might not have gotten to any other way. So what was my goal here? Since I didn't finish all the dialogue, I guess I might not know. I'm going to assume it's just to kill all the stuff, and eventually I will have killed all the stuff, and then we'll move on. But it also might be score-based. It might be like 100,000 or something, in which case, if it is, oh, well, we did fine, and we made it to 100,000. I guess we'll just continue on through these waves until we either win or lose, and we'll figure out what happens from there. That's my fault for not watching all the text all the way through, so sorry about that. But since this game is completely free, you don't really have to feel like there's a huge wall. Oh, crap, I totally bounced right through that. Alright, so I guess this is going to get cut a bit short. So I guess that's probably going to do it then. I was going to play until the end of that level, but, you know, I got cut down in my prime, as they say. So that's going to do it then for Sloth Patrol. Ringing endorsement, I would say. Go ahead and download it. I think you'll probably enjoy this one quite a bit. I'm curious to see what your scores are going to be. For those of you out there who might be a little bit on the competitive side and have a bit of a drive to see how high they can get on the leaderboards, come at me, bro. I'd like to see where your scores end up. Feel free to put your scores in the comments. Let me know what you think of this game in general. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, because that does greatly help me out and helps propagate and send the videos out so more people can see them, which in turn helps the channel grow and helps me keep doing what I'm doing. So if that's a thing you'd like to see, please do leave your support in one form or another. So again, link for the game in the description, social media stuff in the description if you want to check it out, my Twitter, my Facebook, my Twitch page where I stream, and of course indie-impressions.com, where you can find every episode in the series. They're all neatly sorted and categorized, so if you're looking for a specific type of game, that's where you go for that. And every day, new episodes go up, so if you want to see more like this, feel free to come back again tomorrow. And again, if you're enjoying, consider subscribing. That also helps me out quite a bit, but no obligation, of course, just if you're enjoying the content. So I will hopefully see you back again for another video tomorrow, and I do hope to see you back for that. So have a lovely night, and I'll talk to you later.